Everybody, MegaRuler31 here for FSI DFS. We've got kind of a weird slate today. It's a 5-game slate on FanDuel. It's a 7-game slate on DK. DK, it starts at 6:05. FanDuel broke it down into a 2-game like early slate, and then the main slate at 7:05 with just the 5 games. So on the sheet here, if you see things in green, that means they're DK only. But we'll get to that. Just want to thank everybody who watched Tuesday's video. We smashed our single day record and had 1,200 some views. Simply amazing. So I currently have the FSI MLB views trophy. McKinley's going to work hard to take it back from me. He puts out some great videos also. So we're just excited that you're watching this and you're sharing it. We just thank you so much. It's been so great to get to know so many of you. We're almost to the halfway point of the season. We just continue through the holiday weekend, and then up until July 17th on a Sunday. Then we have the All-Star break, and then we flip over to the second half of the season. So appreciate everybody watching and sharing our videos and liking them and asking questions and reaching out to me on Twitter and joining our website and our Discord and everything. So just thank you. So let's get to the slate. Nice slate today. No weather concerns except for not really a concern, but an opportunity. Wind in Wrigley Field is blowing out, so that's definitely going to help bats there. So let's start with the DK portion of the slate. You have the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies. You have Ian Anderson and Aaron Nola. Nola's probably one of the top pitchers on the slate here. I know he's at 10K. I know the Braves are a scary offense, but it looks like Acuna is still not going to be out there with the ball fouled off his foot. Even if he is back, it still might slow him down a little bit. There's plenty of power in this Braves offense, but still some strikeouts. So I think Nola will do perfectly fine there. Anderson, the other side, has been better. I think he's okay in the medium range, but only if you're playing like large field tournaments here. Philly's a little bit watered down with Harper out, but they brought up Derek Hall. He's been decent, pretty cheap there at 2.6. And some of the rest of these guys are still really good hitters like Schwarber and Hoskins and Castellanos, even though he struggled. It's better against left-handers than right-handers, but still there's some potential here. So I think that Anderson, I'm not completely ruling him out, put him in the fade category, but I don't think you really need him here. So Atlanta bats, I think, are the top leverage stack against Nola here. And Philly, like I said, it might be like a mini stack that you want to take, especially like the lefties. If you want to throw like Schwarber, Hall in there, Gregorius, maybe wrap around with some of the cheaper guys in the bottom slot, and Monica and like go up and get two really good pitchers here in the high price range, then I think you want to pay up for a pitcher tonight. So I think that might be a sneaky option in a tournament there, but I don't think you really need them in cash. For FanDuel, I think Nola is going to be SP1 if you're playing that 2-game slate here. And again, I would take some of the Phillies here, especially the left-handers here, and then the Yankees, you're going to want to take 4 of them and then probably take 1 off because you can't play Phillies, so probably take your favorite Houston bat in whatever position you have left over. So that's how I would build on FanDuel if you're playing the like little 2-game slate there. So going to the Yankees and the Astros here, you have Severino and Luis Garcia. Severino, I think, makes a decent GPP play if you want him on the FanDuel one, if you don't want to go for a chalk Nola there. It'd be the same build. You take 4 Yankees, 3 Phillies, and then the one off of Houston, or maybe Atlanta here since you have Severino going. Alvarez is probably out of the Houston offense because I think he's under concussion protocol, and Brantley's still on the IL. So they're missing some bats. I mean, Tucker's moved up higher in the lineup, so that kind of helps him a little bit, but like the bottom lineup is not as powerful as if they were at full strength here. So I think that Severino actually did face them recently. I have it up on the board here. He had 7 Ks and 3 runs. So, I mean, it wasn't a completely clean game against them, but it was a little bit better than some people have fared against Houston. So 9-1 is a little bit expensive, but he might be something if you want to play in tournaments to get off like the chalk Nola and Gilbert. Those would be the 2 probably highest owned pitchers and paired together today. So I think he's definitely in play here. Garcia on the other side, like the Yankees just have he's a good pitcher, but he's not a great pitcher. And the Yankees have just been so good recently that I think that even though they have a 3.87 total, I think if you're betting, if that stays the same, I'd bet the over on that. I definitely think they could put up at least 4 runs here. These games seem to be pretty competitive. So it's not Verlander on the hill against them for Houston. So Yankees, like, definitely a favorite GPP stack. I think you maybe can play them in cash if you want to, but I want to definitely take care of that, are using cash the players in that win game in Chicago. So Houston on the other side too, I think it's just a leverage stack if Severino does get some ownership. Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, you have Jason Alexander and JT Brubaker. Alexander's a fade for me. He's a pitcher that's been all over the league. He's an older rookie, just really, obviously, if he had talent, he would have been called up by now and actually probably been established. So he's kind of just a fill-in here. So I know Pittsburgh has some strikeouts, but they've been much better since they brought up guys like Madrid and Sawinski and Cruz into this lineup. So there's still strikeouts, but they've been much more potent. So I'm not interested at all, even though the wind's blowing on a little bit and Pittsburgh's a great pitching park. Alexander's a fade for me. Now, Brubaker on the other side, I think does make a compelling SP2 candidate at 7.5. I think he's the best out of the mid-range to cheap guys here on this slate. And I think he'd be like possibly my GPP pitcher on FanDuel for the main slate here against Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's projected pretty decent, and I see a lot of sites like a lot of the batters against him, especially the lefties. And Milwaukee is better against right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching. It's one of the rare exceptions in the league. Usually most teams are better against lefties. So I mean, in GPP is a leverage stack. I think you can definitely take that, and maybe I'll have some shares of them just in case. But I think I'm leaning Brubaker, and I think I'm leaning Pittsburgh. They're my favorite cheap stack on the slate, and I think I've kind of settled on my everyday stack being Yankees and Pittsburgh now. It's been working out for like the last couple of weeks. I started out, like I said, with Arizona and Minnesota, but they never seem to play on the same slates together. Yankees and Pittsburgh do seem to, so it's worked a lot better. So I think most days, if they're not like primary targets, I'm still building a stack if they're on the same slate of Yankees and Pittsburgh, and then seeing what pitcher fits with them that makes sense. And it has been quite profitable recently, especially with Judge on his home run tear, and Pittsburgh getting some valuable hits here and there also for cheap value. Next up, we have Tampa Bay and we have Toronto Blue Jays. I see that Drew Rasmussen's coming off the IL to pitch. I've also seen Springs is listed. I really don't want either of them because Rasmussen is way too expensive and not going to go that deep coming back from a hamstring injury. Springs probably won't either. That probably means it's a bullpen game. Maybe Springs will see opening for Rasmussen and Rasmussen be like a long reliever, but still, I'm just completely avoiding this Tampa Bay situation against a Blue Jay team that is very good at home. Kikuchi on the other side, I think is viable in the cheap range. I think I prefer White for the Dodgers, even though he doesn't go super deep into games. Better because Kikuchi can be volatile at times. And Tampa Bay has Franco back. They're starting to get some of their pieces back, and just these righties are really good against lefties. And he has given up some hits, walks, and power throughout the season at various times. So I think Tampa Bay can be a very sneaky, like cheap stack. Prefer Pittsburgh, but they're definitely reasonably priced in like the 3K, only a couple guys like in the mid 4K range. So definitely doable there. Blue Jays on the other side, I think is like probably the second best stack on the slate. Again, I prefer the Cubs and possibly Cincinnati there, but I think the Blue Jays can definitely put up runs against Rasmussen and this Tampa Bay bullpen, depending on who they get arm wise. But they've just really starting to come together as an offense and are really clicking. I think they've got moving Kirk up to the 4th spot. Like he's been doing really well there as the DH and not playing catcher. It's just a really solid bat there in the cleanup position there. So kind of really like the way they're building their lineup. So you have to see too, because Gurriel has actually moved up in the lineup too at some points over Hernandez and been hitting higher up and been good. So just overall, but you'll probably Tapia will start over him today just because it's a lefty righty matchup. So we'll see what lineup they roll out there, but I really like the Blue Jays. Cincinnati Reds and Chicago Cubs. Graham Ashcraft, not interested in with the wins. Kyle Hendricks, I think might be a YOLO dart here at 5.1. if like some changes, but it looks like the wind's going to be blowing out 15 miles per hour. It's 87 degrees. So it's hot and there was wind blowing out in Wrigley Field. So you have a 9.5 total here. Love the Cubs here against Ashcraft. He is like struggled at times. Contreras has been hot recently. Ortega has a split advantage. Happ is a switch hitter there. Wisdom has some power, even though it's the wrong split. Homer at shortstop at 3-3 is reasonably priced and has actually been consistently hitting recently. So you have like a lot of great options here. On the other side too, I like the Reds. So maybe if you take some one-offs, Joey Votto has absolutely owned Kyle Hendricks. I think in 38 at bats at him, he's got 15 hits and like 4 or 5 home runs and a ton of walks and like only like 7 strikeouts, which is very low for Joey Votto against any pitcher. And Hendricks is not a strikeout pitcher, and that's usually what Votto's Achilles heel is, the strikeouts. Pham is also has very, very good numbers against him also historically. So even if you take the two of them one-offs, or you go with a 5 Chicago and like 3 Reds mini stack or whatever fits together for your pricing, as long as you get the pitchers that you want, you might have to go with a one-off to make it fit, but we'll go over that when we do roster construction. So definitely love the bats in this game. I'm not on any of the pitchers. San Diego and the Dodgers come away from Coors Field rather disappointing. They actually put up finally 8 runs, but it just wasn't the offensive output that we expected. Finally Max Muncy hit a home run, got off his snide, but still I don't think I'm going to be chasing him. He just reminds me of like Chris Davis with a K like a couple of years ago. Like Chris Davis was like on fire like the year before, and then something happened and I don't know, I'm not going to speculate what happened, but then he came back the next season. Everybody's like, it's Chris Davis. And everybody kept on playing because they're just waiting for Chris Davis to explode and Chris Davis to turn into the guy that he was the season before. And it just didn't happen. And Muncy, yes, he did hit the home run, but I'm not chasing it until I see like multiple days of multiple home runs. And then I'll consider him a viable player again. But overall, I don't think I'm on the Dodgers at all. Musgrove, I think, is a good matchup here. I think, again, because it's the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. So it's the weather doesn't look like it's going to aid hitting or pitching at all. It looks pretty neutral, but Musgrove is a good pitcher. He had like a 3 against Philadelphia, really struggled last time out, but like on FanDuel, he had like 52 points, like back to back, and like has put up really good numbers against decent teams. So I think he can get it done. But again, he's risky, so I think he's a GPP only. I prefer definitely Nola, Gilbert, and Severino over him on DK. On FanDuel, he's the highest priced pitcher. Obviously, you're going to play Gilbert or maybe drop down to Brubaker, but in GPPs, he's got probably the highest ceiling on the slate for FanDuel. So over if you're not playing Gilbert the chalk there. So I definitely got to be in consideration there. Mitch White on the other side, like I said, 6'4" DK. He's decent price on FanDuel also. It's just the length. Like he probably won't go long enough on FanDuel to get the quality start for you if that's what you're looking for, but he potentially could get the win. He could get enough strikeouts. Manny hasn't gone on the DL yet, but still hasn't or IL. Sorry, it's back in the day. You used to call it DL. Can't get used to that yet. Trying to like calling Cleveland the Guardians over the Indians. It takes a little bit of time. But with San Diego here, like this offense is kind of watered down, still missing Tatis, still missing Manny. Like they were big bats in there and really provided protection for some of these other guys. And Cronenworth is pretty much the one that's been carrying everything. And he's got the split matchup here, but it's just, I don't love it. They'll probably have Grissom leading off and Profar up there. So, and Hosmer. So, and Voit is probably their best bat left, but it's a righty on righty match. And he's definitely better against lefties and righties. So, I think you could play San Diego in a GPP, but I think I really like Mitch White if you want to pay way down in a GPP and get more bats in your lineup. But I mean, there's not a ton of bats to pay up for because this Dodger team only has a 3.9 floor total against them. And I think you can definitely stack them in a GPP. I prefer the Yankees by far, but if you think that there's not going to be a Coors hangover, and sometimes when teams leave Coors, there is an adjustment period for them to have to like get back to realize that the air isn't as thin and how they're swinging at the ball is not going to be the same and it's not going to carry as much, and they have to make adjustments in timing with their hitting. So sometimes you see teams struggle when they come back from Coors. Hey, final game is Seattle and Oakland at Seattle. Adrian Martinez and Logan Gilbert. Martinez had a decent start against Detroit, but I mean, again, anybody pitching against Detroit seems to have had a decent start. So really don't know too much about him. He's not a top prospect. Um, Seattle's got a pretty high total at 4.56, but I think if you want a YOLO and you want to take somebody really cheap, like I think White's where you want to go, but Martinez, like if you want to sprinkle him in, if you're playing 150 max, I think you do it. I would not play him on FanDuel, but in DK, if you want to go in tournaments, if you want to like do something crazy, like play like a New York LA or a New York Toronto or LA Toronto, like where all the bats are super expensive and try to get them in, go ahead and in a GPP, but I would not do it in cash. Gilbert on the other side is clearly against this Oakland team, the top pitcher on the slate. So don't overthink it on FanDuel. Just lock and load in cash. And I think he's your SP1 here with Nola on DK. Is not interested in if you want to play him as leverage stack in case for some reason, like Kirby the other night had a off game in the smash spot, then go ahead. Baseball, anything could possibly happen. They all are major league hitters, even though this sometimes this A's team looks more like a AAA team. Seattle on the other side, watch for who the suspensions. There were a ton of them came out, 2-game suspensions. Most of them appealed. I don't know when the appeal is going to come out. So Winker might be out of the lineup. I think there are a couple others. So if that's watered down too, that's going to help Martinez also if they don't have a full team out there against them and missing some of the coaches and stuff. I don't think it affects Gilbert, but Seattle, I think against Martinez potentially could be the fourth stack in cash, but definitely like Chicago, Cincinnati, and Toronto way above them. There's a clear difference there. Okay, so let's look at the breakdowns and then get you on the way for your day. So in cash, like I said, Gilbert, Nola. I'm taking White Sox. So Contreras, Wisdom, Happ, Ortega, Votto at first base. I think you can put Homer at shortstop if you want to. He's been very consistent, or you just have to decide if you want to try to get Drury in here, if you want to try to get pay up and get some of the other Cincinnati bats. Like I said, I really like Pham, but it's really kind of hard to get him in this build. So I'll let you play around with the Cubs and the Cincinnati bats and see who's in the lineup and figure out where you're going to go from there in those vacant spots that I have for you. It's easier if one of these guys is not playing to figure it out, like especially if Contreras is out, then I just kind of punt catcher and then you can fill in whoever you want there. For FanDuel, Gilbert definitely taking Contreras or Votto there. You probably, if both of them are playing, want to play one of those in the utility. If they're not, then again, that opens you up for like some more salary. I think I prefer the savings in India or Drury, Wisdom, Pham, Happ. And again, like I said, you want to probably try to finish it off with a complete Chicago and Cincinnati stack. If it doesn't, I think like when I did build this, like you have, it doesn't really work out and you have like $4,000 left in outfield. So, I mean, at that point, I just probably Rodriguez, I think from the Mariners is against the young Oakland pitcher, even though he doesn't have the splits advantage, is probably, I just plug and play him there, but we'll see how the lineups actually come out. But don't be afraid to leave money on the table if, in your build here, it's a smaller slate, especially on FanDuel at 5 games. So get the lineup that you want versus trying to spend all your money. Finally, in GPP, White and Brubaker are the pitchers I'm going to pay down to get some bats in here. So catcher's going to defend on first base. I might throw Kirk in there as a one-off, and I really want to stack Pitt and the Yankees. So if I throw Kirk there, I got to go Vogelbach because I won't have enough salary. But if I punt catcher, then I get Rizzo in there. Second base, I don't know. You could probably throw Torres or I don't think Pittsburgh really has a guy that maybe Chavis is second base eligible, but maybe think of it FanDuel. So I don't think there's really a second baseman that really fits into the stack. You can do DeLemayhew or Torres if you have the money to pay up there. You have to choose between Hayes or Donaldson. That's a really tough choice. Donaldson's been decent recently. I know he doesn't have the split, but I think he's definitely, his form's been good. But Hayes, I think, is probably my preferred play there. Cruz at shortstop. Judge or Stanton, you might be able to get both of them in if you pay down for Vogelbach and like pay down probably at catcher or second base there. And then Reynolds, I think, is a solid play. Going to FanDuel, Brubaker or Musgrove. If you get up to Musgrove, it's hard. But if some of these, I really want to stack Tampa Bay and Toronto here as what I'm looking at, and to do it and to get the guys in, I have to go Brubaker because I want Vlad and probably Kirk in my utility. But if Diaz from Tampa Bay saves you a little bit, so second base you might have to completely punt. I don't think there's anybody really like in there. I mean, if first Espinito is like higher up in the batting order, then potentially, or there's some Tampa Bay guys you might be able to put in there that lower on in the lineup, which I'm like Bruja, like he's kind of faded away now that some of the other pieces have come back and hits further on down the order. Paredes, I think, is a really good piece in third base there. He's been hot recently. You have to choose between Franco and Brissett. There's about $300 difference. I think I'm leaning Franco there with the righty-lefty matchup. Springer or T. Hernandez or whatever outfielder you want. Springer's obviously probably the best one there, leading off with the speed. But then again, if you need to save some money, you can go down to Hernandez, and then Arezano or Atram, Harold or whatever Ramirez is there for Tampa Bay outfielder. He's much cheaper. So again, you might, if you have the salary, then Springer and the T. Hernandez or whatever, Tapia or whatever Blue Jay guy you want to put there. If not, then I think Arizona and Ramirez, I think, can both be your outfielders there. And like I said, in utility, you probably want to fill in the second first baseman because you have like three really, really good options there. You've got the righty leading off for Tampa Bay against a lefty, and then you have Kirk and Vlad in very good situation for Toronto. So that pretty much wraps up the slate for the day. Sorry, it's a little bit longer, but we had a lot to discuss. I think it was like some good things out there for you. So again, any questions, put them in the comments below. We'll try to get back to you and help you out. You can hit me up at MegaRuler31 on Twitter if you want some more one-on-one answers. Again, can't prove full lineups for you, but we can help you with like who we like for stacks and like cash or GPP. And, any questions like, do you like these two batters versus these two batters? That's stuff that we can try to help you for. If you want the full experience, go to the details of the video and you can sign up for FSI DFS, and very reasonably priced compared to some other like fantasy sites out there too. We have a lot to offer for free, so I just keep on encouraging people, just sign up for our Discord and get in and just see like all the things that we offer up there for like no price whatsoever. Not all our content is premium. We cover quite a few cool things for free for you. So again, thank you for watching, and just been doing an amazing job like helping to share these videos and helping us to grow, what we're trying to do here, help people out in DFS so you guys can keep on playing and make money and not get frustrated and lose. And it's a long season for baseball. It's a marathon. It's definitely not a sprint. So we appreciate you continue to grind with us day in and day out, and we'll be here to try to help you with content every single day. So again, appreciate you watching. You know how to get a hold of me. And the one last thing I'll say to you is if you are interested in what I've been doing recently, after the 1 cent contest ended, I've been starting to play the 10 cent contests. So I get about 100 entries there, and then maybe some of the 25-cent ones. So I'm probably putting like maybe $15 or $20 into it to try to chase the crowns for achievements. But I'm taking the two pitchers that I think are the highest K guys, and then go home run hunting, and then just fill in with like value plays that I know are at least starting. And it's funny because like I took the third baseman from like Washington the other night, and the Dodgers did not go off, and I think he hit a home run. So I had like 150 home runs from the scrub I put in my lineup last man in. Like I was picking between like, dumpster diving there, and it actually worked out. So I think what I'll do today is if you come back to the video around 6 o'clock or so, maybe even earlier in the day, because I don't have to work in my regular job. I'll have some more time to look at it. I will post the two pitchers that I'm going to play in my achievements chasing crown lineup that I think will have the most strikeouts. And then I will put some of the home run hunting players in that I'm targeting to, and then I'll let you guys fill in the rest of the value plays however you want to. So check back for that later on today. Thanks again for watching, and you know how to get a hold of me, and we will see you next time. Tomorrow's Friday. It's probably a pretty big slate coming up, probably 12, 13, 14, 15 games. So that's kick us off for the holiday weekend. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.